Welcome to Car Talk. This is not talking about cars, this is talking inside of a car. Today's topic is my thoughts on Amazon buying Whole Foods. So in case you've been living under a rock and haven't heard, Amazon, like Amazon Prime, that same Amazon, bought Whole Foods for just under $14 billion in cash. Not securities, not stock issues, in cash. And this means a lot of different interesting things the way I look at it. First and foremost is I think people vastly underestimate how much open available cash like the top 4 or 5 conglomerate internet companies do. Like you look at your Google, your Apple, Facebook, Amazon, I call that my top 4 probably. If you look at those 4 companies, the amount of cash they sit on is mind-blowing, and you probably don't realize it. You probably didn't realize Amazon could just flinch and spend $14 billion to acquire a whole grocery store chain. And this is just the beginning, in my opinion, because these companies make so much money. When iPhone sales are good, Apple profits $1 billion a week. So it's a lot to think about, and that's something that you need to really think about. Actually, I think it's $1 billion a month. Either way, it's an absurd amount, and it doesn't take that much in those kind of numbers to buy a grocery store chain of nationwide things. And like for instance, Apple, which Apple Music is not an especially big player yet in the streaming world, and Apple has their own agenda and all that, but they sit on probably one of the largest mountains of cash ever created, just waiting to buy things. If they wanted to, they could buy Pandora, Spotify, SoundCloud, and not even really notice if they wanted to. And so I think when people don't realize how easily these few companies could acquire other companies if they wanted to, and I think it's only going to keep going, and it's going to adjust how we do things so much in the future as these few companies take over, swallow, encapsulate other things that we already know in our everyday lives. And who knows where that's going to stop. I think it's only getting a first scratch of the surface, only just beginning. The other piece of the puzzle that I think is interesting in that is where people think their business is safe and where it might not be safe. For example, most people, myself included, didn't really expect Amazon to buy a whole grocery store chain, because it just didn't really think. I know they had dabbled in their own store and trying to have some easy ways to pay and check out and all that stuff, and that's cool. I didn't know they were going to buy a whole chain. Most people didn't really, well, I don't know, most people, a lot of people didn't see that coming. But it makes you wonder where they're safe, because like the Schnucks, which is a big chain in the St. Louis area where I live, recently started delivery to your house with your groceries, which is a great thing. But they're playing catch up. A lot of places already do that, and I think that's interesting. They might have thought they were relatively safe, but now if they start seeing competitors with the deep pockets and the resources and the innovation abilities, such as an Amazon or some other big player like a Facebook or Google, decided to buy a grocery store chain or an automaker, whatever the case may be, you're not as safe as you used to be. So now more than ever, make sure that your business is safe, and try to do whatever you can to realize that where there is no competitor now, you may have a competitor the likes of Amazon, and it's not easy to compete against something like that. That's just reality. So whatever choices you make, realize that your competitor may soon be Facebook, or may soon be Google or Apple, or whatever the case may be, and those are hard to compete against. So you have to do whatever you can now to protect against those unknowns in the future, because you might do something you think, I'm never going to compete against. I only got a few local competitors in my particular business, and then Amazon buys a whole chain of something, or Facebook decides to do something, or Apple with their $100 billion in cash decides to buy 5 grocery store chains. Whatever the case may be ready, because this stuff is not stopping or winding down. It has only just begun, and before you know it, you're going to turn around and you're going to see Apple and Facebook and Amazon everywhere you look, and not just in your hand from your iPhone, or on what you log on when you check your messages. Interesting thoughts for today. Recapping, these companies, a few top internet companies, technology companies, sit on mountains of cash unfathomable to the average person, where they cannot realize it, not even not even seen it, but buy a whole grocery store chain, $14 billion in cash. And the other piece of the puzzle is this is not stopping, this is the beginning. And these companies can buy things you wouldn't even realize with these types of sums. And before you know it, your small little business with local no-name competitors may soon be competing against the likes of Apple or Amazon or Google or Facebook. Now is the time to prepare for that. Now is the time to prepare for the unknowns of when that happens. This is Car Talk, Tyler Douthit.